Hola a todos y bienvenidos a esta presentación. Y tenemos el gusto de tener esta tarde a Kim Barthel con nosotros. Hi, Kim. Thank you very
Hola,
much.
hola, hola, Sara.
Thank you very much for your Spanish. And if you don't mind me, I ask you in Spanish. Y bueno, básicamente yo voy a hacer la entrevista en español y luego iréis viendo los subtítulos con las respuestas de Kim, porque queremos presentar esta acción formativa novedosa en España. Va a ser la primera vez que tengamos a Kim Barthel en España. Va a ser el próximo 28 y 29 de septiembre de 2024 en un formato presencial y también en streaming, en directo. O sea, retransmitiremos también el curso en directo vía Zoom. Pero para que nos cuente de primera mano qué es lo que vamos a aprender, comenzamos con la primera pregunta para Kim. Y bien, nosotros, bueno, el curso se titula La regulación importa. Teoría polivagal, interocepción e integración emocional. Ese es el título del curso. ¿Y por qué hemos pedido a Kim este tema dentro de todos los que ella nos podría ofrecer? Y creo que ella nos va a dejar muy clara la explicación. En España tenemos una gran trayectoria en el estudio y aplicación del modelo de integración sensorial, especialmente los terapeutas ocupacionales. Y creemos que tu formación, Kim, empezó con integración sensorial también. Tus inicios, your beginning is in sensory integration as well. Could you tell me something more about your CV?
Thank you so much for the conversation. It is very exciting that we will have the opportunity to meet in person in Spain in September.
Yes.
What was fun about your Spanish question is I actually understood what you asked me. And when you ask about my history, my very first love, which is 40 years ago,
Yeah.
it's a long time ago already, was sensory integration. And my very first placement out of university was at the Ayers Clinic, just before Dr. Ayers passed. And this fascination with trying to understand people and children and why they do what they do, and how sensory integration in the 80s was something that was so passionate for me. Dr. Ayers turned to me one day and said, Kim, you need to go learn about the body. She probably meant I needed to go learn about my own body. But I asked her, what does that mean? And she said, neurodevelopmental treatment. Bobath. Go and learn from the Bobaths. And I was 22, and I just said, okay, whatever you say, I will do. And so my next part of my journey was neurodevelopmental treatment, of which I am an advanced instructor today. And then along the way, movement and sensation, all of the children that were coming into my clinical practice had such adversity, trauma, and we didn't know that's what it was in that era. So the next chapter was attachment, and became a student in the field of attachment and trauma for the next 25 years. So regulation matters is a culmination of all of those pieces. Understanding sensation, cognition, neurobiology, attachment and emotion, and how they fit into our work as clinicians in creating the best services that we can for children and their families.
muy clara la explicación. Creo que eso fue lo que nos hizo decidir empezar con este tema, con Kim. Y porque precisamente, bueno, pues ya vamos viendo que el avance de la neurociencia y la evidencia, sobre todo con las necesidades que nos encontramos en la clínica, nos invitan a incluir otras visiones, otras miradas, otras teorías para dar respuesta a la complejidad de las conductas o demandas de las familias con las que habitualmente nos manejamos. Por eso en este curso podrías decirnos cómo vamos a ampliar, ya has avanzado un poco, pero cómo va a ampliar nuestros conocimientos para ayudar a las familias y a las personas con dificultades de regulación.
The term regulation is such a commonly used word and not always well understood. There is a belief that regulation is actually a behavior. And what regulation is a neurobiological state of adjustment of arousal within the system of the body. And this is learned through co-regulation in relationship. And there is finesse and art to this co-regulation. And what it requires is connection to oneself. And that's complex because that connection to oneself is sensory. Being able to, you use the word interoception, interoceptively connect to me and also acknowledge my emotional awareness is actually what regulation is. And it is first accomplished in childhood, in the life between a caregiver and a child. And this goes on for our whole lifetime. How we are able to put our mind into the mind of another person. And that's what helps them feel felt by us, feel received and seen and understood. And that is what creates safety, connection, and the ability to regulate my states of emotion and arousal. And so sensory is part of that, but only part of that.
¿Qué grupos de edad, aunque has dicho que es durante toda la vida, pero sobre qué grupos o diagnósticos vamos a poder emplear las estrategias aprendidas en el curso?
First of all, if you're human, you need co-regulation and regulation. So this neurobiology, this work applies to us all. In our clinical practice, typically we are referred children, youth with different diagnoses. Diagnoses of neurodiversity that would include autism, spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, learning disabilities, developmental coordination disorder. And for me, most of my career has been in the field of mental health. So all the mental health diagnoses that you can think of struggle with regulation. Anxiety is an epidemic for children in the world right now. And this is a big part of what this course is going to support us with. When we work with children, we know they come with families. And I often say that I went into pediatric therapy to work with kids, but they came with parents. And so the parents are as equally as important in our work as the children. And so understanding regulation, attachment, trauma, all of these pieces with parents is where our work really matters in its sustainability across time. But if you work in elder care centers, in a school, if you support people, we also have had people attend this course who work in jails, who work in hospitals, who work in human services, who are psychologists, who are social workers, counselors. This thinking applies to many different disciplines. This course is really hot with new information, meaning the neuroscience is changing day by day. In this moment, I'm feeling overwhelmed by the number of research papers that I'm reading. And so there will be information, I think, that people will find very different than what they might have learned before. And so there will be a mix of theory, reflection, video observation of clients, the opportunity for self-awareness, discussion between each other, and a few practical hands-on. It's a lot to do in 2 days, but it will invite you to want to learn more, is my wish.
Está muy claro lo que nos ha contado Kim. Kim, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your future travel to Spain. We are very excited to receive you. And I see you soon, in September, in Madrid. Os esperamos en Madrid el 28 y el 29 de septiembre, en presencial, con todas estas novedades por primera vez en España y con Kim Barthel. Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Bye, bye, Kim.
Bye, bye.